On this episode, up close and personal with yours truly and our terrible home inspection report addendum. This real estate stuff is not easy, so send me your questions and I will answer them. This is the Ask Jason Show. Hello everybody, my name is Jason Piercey, and this is episode 112 of the Ask Jason Show. We are continuing to explore new options for where and how we will film. Joe thinks this looks really cool. I think it's not really cool because I can't even wear my glasses because of all of this. And we set this up because we were trying to mimic a photo shoot that we did that turned out really well for a new agent who's actually going to spend some time working with myself and Joe. And she's going to be great, but it doesn't work probably because all we see with all of this bright light right in my face is my 38-year-old widened pores and all of my dragged out, haven't slept since I had a child face, and all of the gray hair and the ingrownness and just all of the imperfections that is me, as opposed to some young human being who still has a lot to live for. So this didn't really work out the way that we wanted it to, but we're here and we don't have time to fix it. So it's a totally different scene. Not only that, but this ring light is seriously bright, and I'm leaving here with a headache for sure. So this is episode 112, the worst Ask Jason in history, except for the one from the vault that we never ever released, ever. It was number 10 maybe? It was the first one Joe ever did. This is so bright that I can see the spit leaving my mouth every time. Look, and I'm not even saying anything, and it's just, oh my god, this is so weird. If you ever need reason to confirm why masks are important, this is exactly it. I can see little bits of extraneous spittle everywhere. Anyway, oh man, my head hurts. So we are talking about home inspections, but more specifically, not home inspections themselves, but the form that we, as members of Newfoundland and Labrador Association of Realtors and the Canadian Real Estate Association, use under our provincial legislation, because all real estate trading acts are governed provincially across Canada, under our provincial legislation and our board-approved document that explains what home inspections are for, what they do, what they don't do, what you're allowed to do with the information from them, what you're not allowed to do with the information from them, and really how things are evolving. There's a realtor code that is about ethics and the way that we adhere to certain things. So I am very much on the side of our real estate board and the Canadian Real Estate Association. Part of being somebody who is ethical and somebody who wants what's best for the industry such that we can be the best possible for our clients, growth and change and evolution is really, really important. And I've been speaking about stuff like that for a long time, sometimes with a less mature voice and getting myself in trouble when Director Joe is not around to tell me, dude, you cannot say that. And I'll just put stuff out there and it doesn't get interpreted the way that I always wanted it to. But ever since I got my ADHD under control, Ritalin is a hell of a drug for what I do. I mean, I'm sure recreational is probably fun if that's what you do, but it doesn't do that to me. To me, it just dials me in and allows me to have these conversations and do math and spreadsheets and stuff, which Greg at Haven Homes really appreciates because now the credits and extras when people are buying houses off them make a whole lot more sense because they're not just in here, they're actually in a Google sheet that is shared that him and his accountant and everybody else can look at. So everything makes way more sense. So yeah, I am on the side of our board, but learning when things need to change or when we suspect that things need to change and we can have conversations about them is a really important thing. So our home inspection report addendum. It's a document that you attach to the contract that says you got a right to do a home inspection. There's a whole bunch of clauses on there. A couple of the ones that are most important is that there is a deadline, a timeline on it. And that timeline is not only the time and date, so it's just the day and actually the time of day. So 5 p.m. on the 12th of May or whatever the date is. Not only is there a deadline on it by which this inspection has to be done, that's also the deadline at which you need to serve notice to the other side of any change you wish to make to your agreement of purchase and sale based on the results of the home inspection. So if we do a home inspection and there's some latent defect, which is basically, that means something that isn't obvious to the naked eye when you're walking through the house. If there's a broken window and you can see the crack in the window, then you're aware of that. That's not a latent defect. You can see that. But if you come in after the fact and there's something pointed out to you, they bring in an infrared camera and you see that there's this massive cold spot on this one wall that had been renovated at some point, which means there's no insulation in it, then that's something you didn't know about. So things like that. And then what you do is you have to serve notice to the other side in writing that you want to make a change. You either want to have them make the repair, Or maybe you want to negotiate some difference in purchase price in lieu of them having to make those repairs. So the issue with our home inspection report addendum, and there are a few. One is, especially right now with COVID, home inspectors are hard to book. Like inspectors are booking like 10 days to 2 weeks out sometimes. And that's really, really tough because we're getting multiple offers right now, right? So say I have a listing, which I don't because they're all, no, that's not true. We do. We just listed one the other day and we have another one coming up. Somebody writes an offer on my listing down on Southside Road, 623 Southside Road. It is a great house. It's deadly. There's been so much work done there. It's a really good value and it's a great neighborhood. So somebody writes an offer and then somebody else writes an offer. And then we got 3 or 4 offers. And we're in this multiple offer situation. All of these people are trying to be really competitive and get us to take their offer. So one of the things that people can include in an offer like that is that they're going to do their home inspection and their financing and get them done real fast so that we're not holding up waiting for anything. So if somebody's waiting 2 or 3 weeks for a home inspection and this guy says he can have it done in 5 days and all other things are created equal, price and financing and all of that, then why would we not do the one that firms up faster? There's a million reasons why you would do one deal versus another, but just as an example, there's a situation whereby somebody would write into a deal that they're going to have their home inspection done quickly, but then they can't hire anyone in time. But we both have a signed agreement that says at this day, at this time, if I don't have served in writing your recommendations from your home inspection, then the home inspection is assumed to be perfect. And the whole thing is gone, done. Might as well have never had an inspection. That's what our document says. Now, luckily there's a standard of reasonableness amongst people who work in our industry most of the time, because we do very much work together. On both sides of a real estate transaction, like it's not like this usually. It's a dance, it's not a fight. Like you're partners to try and put something together because you both want to accomplish the same thing. I want to sell such that my sellers are happy. They want to buy such that their buyers are happy. So like we have to cooperate. So normally we can work out something like that. And most sellers will be understanding that like it's just impossible because of where the market is to get somebody to inspect in this amount of time. So given that, we are going to allow an extension. You can do that, but you don't have to. The seller doesn't have to. The document is signed. It is what it is. It's the buyer's fault for not doing the due diligence ahead of time, knowing when they could get an inspection. That's not on us, but it is a problem with the form. Now, how do you fix it? I don't know. I'm just pointing out that I don't think it's right. And in addition to that, here's another one. It doesn't matter what the problem from the inspection is. Well, first off, let's go back. They're only meant to handle structural, mechanical, electrical, or life safety deficiencies. Anything else that doesn't qualify under any of those items is not included in a home inspection report at all, not even a little bit. Structural, mechanical, electrical, life safety. That is it. And also, you can't make any recommendation where National Building Code has changed from the time of construction. Like if you want to buy a house in downtown St. John's and the inspector comes in and says, well, we got some structural issues in the basement. This place isn't supported to code. Well, it was built 150 years ago. And then it was approved for occupancy. So there's nothing wrong with it. You don't have any claim to the structure of this house. That's what the document says. So what then? The buyer can't buy it knowing that it's not safe by today's standards. The seller doesn't have to fix it or do anything with it because it was safe when it was built, and that's the way the document is written. So what do? Do they try and negotiate with the standard of reasonableness? Or are they both pig-headed? One wants to leave, the other won't let them, and now you got a lawsuit. This is a problem with the way the form is written. Now, again, just to have it said, realtors are doing a really, really good job of keeping stuff together with the standard of reasonableness. And here's another one. You're not allowed to make recommendations for future wear and tear. This one gets sticky a lot of the time. So let's say my house. I've been living in my house for nearly 8 years now. It's on the same water heater. Both the unit I live in and the apartment. They both make hot water. There's never been a problem with either one of them. If we were to do a home inspection through selling my house right now, the home inspector would say both water heaters are at or exceeding their design life expectancy. So what does that mean? Well, it means they're going to break soon. Maybe. Okay, but do they make hot water? Well, yeah. Then they're not deficient. Well, no, but there's an issue. You can't make a recommendation for future wear and tear. But what happens is the home inspector is required by their own errors and omissions insurance to point out things to their client, who is the buyer, that says, you might have an issue with this moving forward. And I need to let you know, because I don't, if then it breaks, you can come after me. So you have one set of regulations from the home inspector to protect themselves and their clients, another set of regulations from the real estate board to protect themselves and the listing agent, and they don't mesh. So what one person has as non-negotiable, the other person might have as totally irrelevant. And that's what happened. So what about a roof? An old asphalt shingled roof, just a 3-tab asphalt shingle that's good for like 80 or 100 kilometer an hour winds. That's a 15-year shingle, and it's been on the roof for 22 years. But there's not a single leak. Not a single leak. But you got curled tabs, a couple missing ones, some granules from the asphalt are gone because there was a tree or something. But the house nothing leaks. Does that roof need to be replaced? Well, it's not electrical. It's not structural. It's not life safety. And it's not mechanical. And it's a recommendation for future wear and tear. But it's well past design life expectancy. Do you need to replace it? No, not if you signed this form. So what does the buyer do? Well, fix the roof or I'm leaving. Well, I'm not going to fix the roof. Well, reduce $7,000 so that I can fix the roof. I'm not doing that either. I don't have to. And what happens now? Does another deal fall apart when it didn't need to? So what a lot of realtors are doing at this point is they're starting to use different clauses and not use this document. Part of me likes it, part of me doesn't like it. Basically what it says is we're gonna do a home inspection for our purposes. After the home inspection, we reserve the right to negotiate based on the results, and we also reserve the right to walk away. And that's important because the way our home inspection report addendum is written is that it doesn't matter how big or small the deficiency is. If the seller is willing to repair it, the buyer cannot walk away. Cannot. So imagine you're gonna buy a house down in the Battery that's hanging off the side of a cliff. An inspector comes in and he's like, holy shit, this place is gonna fall into the ocean. This is a big, big deal. This is a really big deal. A home inspector is not gonna tell you to buy or not to buy anything. They're gonna provide, or they're supposed to be, providing unbiased advice on everything. So the home inspector tells you that. And as a buyer, you're like, no, not buying this. I'm out. But the homeowner is like, whoa, hold on. My uncle is a structural engineer and my dad is a contractor. So I can get this done with an engineered stamp and it'll be fine. The deal should stay together by the letter of the law. The buyer, no matter how afraid of this situation they are, can't leave if the seller fixes it up to current standards. So what happens now? Does another deal fall apart? Or do people use a standard of reasonableness to figure out what to do? Because the fact of the matter is, at this point, the seller needs to fix this problem anyway, whether they stay there or whether somebody else buys it. Every inspection is bringing this up. So they're gonna do it. From the buyer's perspective, I know you're afraid, but the house you're gonna get is way better than the house you agreed to buy. So why don't you, like Joe's laughing at that because that's true. You're gonna get a house with an engineer's stamp on it. That's like a letter from God in the city of St. John's and surrounding areas. So what do we do in this situation? What do we do about this home inspection report addendum that's causing trouble? Well, we talk about it, and our real estate board has committees, different committees that talk about different things. One of them talks about technology. One of them talks about the upgrades to the recent, to the Real Estate Trading Act, which is being rewritten because it's the same since like the 40s. So we're updating all of these things. One of them talks about our forms and whether or not we need to change them or update them. And this is one of the things that we're talking about. So when it comes to buying or selling a house, read that document, top to bottom, home inspection report addendum, and make sure that you understand what it means. Ask questions about it. If you're buying a house and you're doing a home inspection and your agent does not explain all of this stuff, like dig in, ask. You need to know this document top to bottom, maybe even more than any of the other ones, because this one could end you up in a situation. Does that even make sense? This one could end you up. This one, you could end up in a situation on account of this document that you had no idea was even possible. And that's not cool. So that's, I guess, all that I have to say about the home inspection report addendum on the Newfoundland and Labrador Association of Realtors. And I think that's it. Okay, I need an Advil. This is seriously bright. Seriously bright. But somehow I feel like there's an increased level of intimacy with the audience, the way that we're filming this. I feel like I'm actually face to face. Did you, Joe, did you get that from the conversation? It almost feels like, for sakes. I'm just gonna go. We'll see you next time. I'm covered in coffee.
The Ask Jason Show exists so that you can get good real estate related information from a resource that you can trust. Now, speaking of resources you can trust, here's a couple I would trust to work with my mom. Because good enough for mom, I mean, Not for you.